In the late 50s and early 60s, Sam Cooke had charted a new path in pop music with sweet soul, a genre of crooner ballads and softer pop singles, infused with the influence of gospel and which broke through to mainstream audiences. The song shared universal themes of love and life, which appealed to audiences on both sides of the colour line. But in 1964, Cooke changed course, focusing on his own personal experience and addressing the injustices of racism. The result was a new type of protest anthem. Fully orchestrated, it expressed a deep longing for equality and change, and became the lasting legacy of the civil rights movement in music. That song was "A Change Is Gonna Come."
There've been times that I thought I could laugh.
Samuel Cooke was born in Clarksdale, Mississippi on January the 22nd, 1931. He came from a background in gospel music where he had launched his career replacing R.H. Harris as the lead singer of the Soul Stirrers. He was encouraged to begin recording solo records by Specialty Records producer Robert "Bumps" Blackwell. Cooke's music was part of a new movement in the late 1950s, of a softer style of black pop records which emerged at the same time that rhythm and blues and rock and roll were taking over the charts. Often called sweet soul, these pop ballads brought together gospel with the crooning vocal styles of mainstream pop artists like Dean Martin or Al Martino. Between 1957 and 1965, Cooke boasted 29 singles on the top 40 charts. Songs like "You Can Send Me" (1957), "Chain Gang" and "What a Wonderful World" both in 1960, "Twisting the Night Away" 1962, "Another Saturday Night" in 1963. These songs were powerful records, crossing the colour line and appealing to mainstream audiences. Cooke was also important for the way he took control of the business side of his career. During his career, he negotiated impressive deals with RCA Victor, in addition to establishing his own publishing company, Cags Music, as well as 2 record labels, SAR and Derby. By 1963, Cooke had proven that he knew how to write, record and produce hit records that would appeal to wide audiences. The songs were usually beautiful, sentimental ballads or light-hearted pop songs. But personal experience and a changing world inspired him to take his songwriting in a more serious direction. And in doing so, Cooke would write one of the most important songs of the civil rights movement and an enduring classic for generations to follow.
But now I think I'm able to carry on.
Cooke was no stranger to the injustices faced by blacks in the United States as he was growing up, but in 1963, he experienced one of those moments which inspired him to move away from the universal themes of his songs to the more specific experiences of Black America. On October the 8th, 1963, Cooke had made reservations for himself and his bandmates to stay at a Holiday Inn in Shreveport, Louisiana. But when they arrived, they were turned away for the colour of their skin. In an incident that made the New York Times, Cooke and his wife and bandmates were arrested for creating a disturbance. The Times reported that police said Cooke and his group repeatedly blew the horn of their car, yelled and woke guests at the Holiday Inn after being turned away. It was one of those moments which brought a lifetime of experience to a head, and Cooke was inspired to use his music in protest. A Change Is Gonna Come is a direct response to the reality of his lived experience and a hope for a future envisioned by the civil rights movement. According to both Cooke's business partner and close friend, J.W. Alexander, and his younger brother, L.C. Cooke, A Change Is Gonna Come was also inspired by Bob Dylan's musical contribution to the civil rights movement, Blowing in the Wind. In an interview with the BBC, L.C. Cooke explained, "I know you know Blowing in the Wind by Bob Dylan. Sam always said a black man should have wrote Blowing in the Wind. It was unfair, so he said, nah, if he can write a song like that, surely I can come up with something equally as good. So he sat down to write A Change Is Gonna Come." We know that Sam Cooke had engaged with Dylan's song, performing it live at the Copacabana in July of 1964. While Dylan's classic song approaches issues of injustice from an observational standpoint, Cooke's song begins directly with personal experience. He sings, "I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since."
The river I've been running ever since.
Other verses express equally personal experiences, moments of doubt in one's faith, and direct experiences of segregation. In fact, the third verse was even cut from the single version because it was thought to detail the experience of segregation too directly. I go to the movie and I go downtown. Someone keep telling me, don't hang around.
Somebody keep telling me don't hang around.
If you're familiar with Otis Redding's cover of the song, which was released in 1965, you'll notice it also doesn't include the third verse. And this is likely because he was following Cooke's single version, which was released in December of 1964. But we do find the third verse included on the version of the song found on Cooke's album, Ain't That Good News, which was released in February of 1964, predating the single by almost a year. And it's the full version that we often hear today. The chorus of the song shares the text of the title, offering a longing and a hope for a better future. Unlike Dylan's ephemeral answer of Blowing in the Wind, Cooke directly states a belief that things will change. The verses tell us all the reasons why they have to.
It's been a long time coming.
The song stands apart from other civil rights protest songs because it's not written in a folky style, one which works well for gathering around a guitar at a protest march. Instead, it makes a dramatic and powerful statement through a fully orchestrated arrangement. The song opens with flowing strings, horns, and timpanis. The liner notes from the 2003 compilation album A Portrait of a Legend, researched and compiled and written by biographer Peter Guralnick, boast a robust cast of players performing on the track. The track was recorded on January the 30th, 1964 at RCA Studio in Hollywood with David Hassinger as the engineer. Cooke produced the record along with the production duo Hugo and Luigi, Hugo Peretti and Luigi Creator. Rene Hall, who also played guitar on the track, is credited with arranging and conducting. J.W. Alexander has stated that the song came quickly to Cooke and he was energized by its potential. Alexander recalled, "He was very excited, and when he finished it, he explained it to me. His reason behind the lyrics, like, I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's like somebody talking about, I want to go to heaven, really, but then who knows what's really up there. In other words, that's why you want justice on earth." Or, you know, in the verse when he says, I go to my brother and I say, brother, help me, please. You know, he was talking about the establishment. And then he says, that mother winds up knocking me back down on my knees. He said, I think my daddy will be proud. I said, I think so, Sam. A Change Is Gonna Come was recorded in January of 1964, and on February the 7th, Cooke premiered the song, singing it live on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. He never performed it live again. The recording of A Change Is Gonna Come was first released on his album Ain't That Good News in late February, and it was prepared to be released as a single, but on December the 11th, 1964, Cooke was fatally shot at the Hacienda Motel in El Segundo, just outside Los Angeles. The shooting was declared justifiable homicide as self-defense. But there has been so much speculation to that conclusion ever since. A few weeks later, A Change Is Gonna Come was released as a single and immediately was picked up as an anthem for the civil rights movement, speaking the truth of the African-American experience and offering a powerful longing and hope for a brighter future. It has been covered by incredible artists like Otis Redding and Aretha Franklin, and was chosen for preservation in the Library of Congress in 2007 for its cultural, historical, and aesthetic significance. The song also experienced a revival around the presidential election of Barack Obama in 2008. In his election speech in Grant Park in Chicago, Obama referenced Cooke's lyrics. And this song was brought to the national stage once again, performed at his inauguration by Betty Leavitt and John Bon Jovi.
A long time a-coming, but I know.
There's a lot of videos out there talking about how music isn't as complicated as it used to be, isn't as fancy. Should use these chord sequences and this, that, and the other, and that's all valid, isn't it? But how about the fact that there's no music that actually means anything anymore? You know, A rock and roll song with complicated chords doesn't make it any better than John Lennon writing a song with A minor and G, Working Class Hero, for instance, sometimes 2-chord songs. But this is important. When somebody says something that means something, that actually helps change the world. It doesn't get any better than that. So we can be all superior and talk about, how much whatever particular mic we use and mic pre and chord sequence and cleverness and education and all this kind of stuff behind it. But that's a beautiful song with an incredible vocal. Bringing people together. I mean, that's the secret of this. It brought people together. It's not a song coming from anger. It's a song written with love. It's a beautiful song written from the purest motives of bringing people together and realizing things had to change. And the fact that he wrote that and within a year he was dead is absolutely insane to think of. Thanks everybody for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Please leave any comments and questions below. If you've got any other songs that you would like us to listen to or talk about or artists, I'd really, really appreciate it. Thanks for your incredible support of this channel. It means a lot to all of us. And the fact that we get to talk about such incredible music as this. Thank you ever so much. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, adios, tschüss, tschüss, goodbye.